Good evening and welcome to Bull Market Stock Show. This is your host Rian Hobson, and actually the Reserve Bank manager left up the interest rate with a 0.25%. Now a lot of people are pissed regarding that, but that is inevitable. That it needs to happen. Inflation, as you said in the policy statement, that inflation is towards the upper end of the inflation mandate, which is between 3 and 6%. And he needed to lift up the interest rate just to contain inflation. And also, what he also stated is the fact that that mainly the poor get affected with this when inflation is actually starting to rise so rapidly. And now he needs to squeeze basically the interest rates, and which is basically the middle class and the rich people, where he needs to lift up the interest rates so that actually spending can actually be contained. Now he lifted up with a 0.25, and definitely he will actually lift up interest rates as the year progresses. Well, it doesn't have a choice. So you will just have to pay more for your house and for your car and any other debt that you do have. But all in all, in that, what he actually also did well is that the rand actually strengthened after he lifted up the interest rates. That is actually a good thing. So he lifted up the interest rates. The rand was strengthening. I thought the rand would have actually went a bit south, but it did not. It actually strengthened. There were some Federal Reserve, not Federal Reserve, Reserve Bank managers of South Africa that did state that they want to lift up the interest rates even more, like with the 0.5%. Two of the members actually were voted in favor to say lift up the interest rates to 0.5%, and most of the other members were voting for a 0.2%. Look, to be honest with you, our governor currently, I must say, he's absolutely the best that we do have. I can say in South Africa's history. If you look at the turmoil that South Africa is facing, especially now, we had a pandemic, we have a war in Ukraine, we have supply shortages, we had a drought, we have 10 years of Zuma craziness, we have a few years now of Ramaphosa's craziness, and this guy is literally steering the ship. I think this is the most difficult time for South Africa. It is the worst economic growth that South Africa ever faced, actually, in history. And actually, I must say, he's really doing actually a very good job, even though with all the backlash that the guy is getting, not just from the media, but also from politicians. This guy is literally steering the ship, and for that, he did actually a very good job to hold things together, strengthening the rand, and that is just actually so that we don't have to pay much for stuff that we are importing, because South Africa imports quite a lot. So I must say the guy did a sterling job, and literally we hope that everything works out so that he can lift up the interest rates steadily and not aggressively. But as things stands, with the war still continuing, things look a bit bad. Cooking oil that's starting to rise and a lot of other things that starts to rise. So it may look like when it gets to the next policy statement that it will lift up the interest rate with the 0.5%. Or remember, there were two members that were in favor of lifting it up with the 0.5%. At least they did not do it. So that is actually a good thing. Now, on the other side of today, look, I must say gold was on fire. It took a bit long, but it actually got there. Gold looks actually extremely good, and it looks like it can go actually to about the 2000 level or to the all-time high actually. As you can see here, I was actually looking at this morning. If it breaks that 1950 mark and it goes further up, then we're looking for 2000. So gold is actually going steadily up. I'm still bullish with gold, because one thing for sure, this news here that came through out of the United States, this actually pushed up the gold price. Now, it may sound weird now, but I will explain why I'm saying that. Because once this news was released, I think this was about 4:30, around there. When that news got released, it actually literally pushed up the gold price. And this is actually the whole entire story. This was the flash manufacturing out of the United States. It came out very good for the United States, 56.6%. That was the PMI. Manufacturing, it came out at 58. And then we have the flash service PMI. It was 58.9. That was the actual number, and this was the forecast at 56. It was very good number. So it means that the manufacturing sector is growing, and also the service sector in the United States is growing. But this was actually the story. Now, I don't know if you guys read it, but this was actually the statement that was released with this PMI numbers. And this was for me the most important part here. The rate of output charge inflation remained well above the serious average at the end of the first quarter. companies still sought to pass on higher costs to clients. Still, very important, still sought to pass on higher costs to clients as the rate of increase slowed only slightly, largely reflecting a softer rise at manufacturers. Despite reports of greater output and ease supply chain woes, backlog of work grew steeply in March. Although there were still reports of material and labor shortages, there was a shift in factors driving outstanding businesses up, with many firms highlighting that new order growth was behind the fastest rise in backlog on record. This was actually the fastest than actually in the pandemic, because what the pandemic did, the economies went into lockdown, there was a backlog. The data here currently says that there is actually a larger backlog. So which means it means more inflation coming for the United States. That means that will push gold prices up. And also that's why the bond prices, or I would say the bond yields went nuts. It's still all over the show. It is actually a huge problem. And that's why people are actually selling their bonds. I think that is where they're going into equities, and that is also where they're going into gold. On the other side, cryptos look for me also very lovely. This was also quite a story, yeah? Russia is looking to sell energy sources to friendly nations in Bitcoin. Now, friendly nations, that is actually in inverted commas, those guys that give him a bit of help. Excuse me. That is now the European Union. You want to sell it actually in Bitcoins to them. That also was actually a big driver for the cryptos, where Bitcoin was starting to going up. Not at that news, but it was actually moving steadily up because Russia is actually asking them to pay in Bitcoins. I will not be surprised. You know what? There's a rumor that actually goes around what Dan Penner is saying. I don't know if you guys follow Dan Penner, but Dan Penner was actually stating that Putin is actually behind Bitcoin. You know what? When I see news like this, I start to believe that actually Dan Penner was actually right by saying that Putin is actually behind the whole entire story of Bitcoin. Now, gold for me, gold and cryptos for me looks like the most steadiest thing to buy now, because the dollar is all over the show. That is what the US bond yields is all over the show. It looks like the story will continue exactly the same tomorrow. There's not much news that comes through tomorrow. Besides, there was some German news that Germans was hitting output inflation was reaching a record high. But it looks to me it will be the same story that was today will be tomorrow. You have the Australian dollar, your commodities up. It's just for oil. Oil was slightly a bit down, but I think there's more potential for oil to go further up. Well, I think the gold took a bit long to move, but for me, it looks like gold is on its way to 2000. The Nasdaq actually did well today as well, and we have the US 30 that also looks actually in good shape. So I think we will see exactly the same story tomorrow. We will see Nasdaq up. We will see actually gold up, oil prices, the USD 30, the Australian dollar. I'm not so sure about the euro and the British pound. The British pound is doing well against the Japanese yen, yes, but not against other major currencies. And that is all to do with this whole story that's going on in Russia and Ukraine. So the euro and the British pound, I'm actually away there. But I did actually bought the British pound against the Japanese yen because of the Japanese that pumped that massive 10 trillion into their economy. So that is the only currency pair that I will go. But I'm not so in favor of going against the Japanese yen because the Japanese yen is a safe haven currency. So if something goes wrong in Ukraine, then definitely the yen will start to strengthen again. So I'm a bit wary when it gets to the yen. I actually open up a trade and go out very quickly. Actually went up maybe quite a bit, and then I just got out because I'm afraid to leave that trade actually for long open. But the Australian dollar looks to me rock solid. New Zealand looks good against the US dollar. The gold looks good. Oil a bit shaky, but oil has the potential going up. But the main one is also Bitcoin that looks strong. Nasdaq, Dow Jones, that look also for me. So there will be a bumpy ride. Not every day it will be the same. There will be a bumpy ride, but I think the bulls are on this one, and I think it will actually go further up. So that's it from my side. I hope you guys enjoyed, and please don't forget my morning shows is actually in the mornings at 10 a.m. That's Monday to Thursday, so tomorrow I'm off. So Monday to Thursdays at 10 a.m. that is actually where I do my morning show and also my evening show. So for now, I will see you guys on Monday and not tomorrow. Bye-bye.